communication tool, meetings can be very, very effective. But I've found over the years attending meetings in various companies that often people attend the meetings that have absolute no value to add, or the facilitator doesn't have the ability to run the meeting, or there's no follow-ups, or it's a meeting about a meeting. And I'm sure you can identify with me. So we've decided that let's create a module where we can provide you with some tools and guidelines to have more effective meetings and more productive meetings. So we look forward to your input, and we hope that you will apply the lessons learned in this course. My name is CraigANel, and this is ICAN. All experience a bad meeting, one where people arrive late and the meeting starts later than planned. There's no clear agenda, so the meeting meanders around various topics. The person with the authority to make a decision isn't present, and at the end of the meeting it's overrun by 15 minutes and nothing is decided. Perhaps the only thing agreed upon is to hold another meeting. Clearly, nobody is guided by a set of effective meeting guidelines. It's easy to see why this occurs. When we first begin our careers, we're often invited to attend unstructured meetings as described above, and we begin to think that this is how meetings are done. But it doesn't have to be this way. Fortunately, there are effective meeting guidelines that you can follow to ensure that your meetings are productive and run smoothly. A good way to think about these steps is in terms of what you need to do before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting ends. As a leader, meetings are one of your most influential communication methods in business. Therefore, we have created this model for new supervisors or managers, and we would appreciate your feedback on this subject. And please do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel. My name is CraigANel, and this is ICAN. So let's look at the module regarding communication skills for leaders. Today we're going to talk about effective meetings, productive meetings, what are the roles of facilitators of meetings, and meeting rules. We'll also talk about daily stand-up meetings and virtual meetings, which became very, very popular since COVID in 2020. And then finally, we'll talk about weekly execution meetings. Let's look at a module created by expertprogrammanagement.com on effective meeting guidelines. Number one, before the meeting, you need to ask yourself, do you need a meeting, or should you be using other means of communication? Determine the agenda beforehand, determine the attendees. And why this is important, often we find that people attending meetings don't add any value. And when you speak to them, it's, well, I'm not sure why I'm in the meeting. So think about it in advance. During the meeting, start it on time, please, and end it on time. So perhaps have a timekeeper. Take charge of the meeting itself, and if as far as possible, unless the minute taker is using a computer or their phone, ban technology. You need people engaged. If there are issues that you cannot resolve in that meeting, rather park it. And make sure you take good notes, and I would suggest not minutes like we would do with formal meetings, so perhaps just actions with people's names alongside it, and then confirm the next steps. When the meeting is complete, now it's important for you as a facilitator to follow up. Here are 10 ground rules for people attending meetings to follow. First of all, show up on time and come prepared. Be prompt in arriving to the meeting and also returning from breaks. Often I find people come back from a break and they interrupt the meeting and they say, I'm sorry for making a noise. Always come to a meeting with a positive attitude. Number 2, stay mentally and physically present. Often we find people are fidgeting on their phones or busy with other things, and that's quite disturbing for the facilitator. Listen attentively to others and don't interrupt people when they are having conversations within that meeting. This is very important to attendees. Treat all the meeting participants with the same level of respect you want from them. And this often happens when people interrupt when there's somebody speaking, and this could be quite counterproductive. Number 3, contribute to meeting goals. Participate in the meetings by sharing your ideas, asking questions, and contributing to discussions. Feel free to share your unique perspectives and experiences and speak honestly. If you state a problem or disagree with the proposal, try to offer a solution. And often you find in these meetings people just come and bring problems and nothing gets resolved. Next, let everyone participate. Share time so that all can participate in the meeting. Be patient when listening to others and speak, especially when they speak, and do not interrupt them. Respect each other's thinking and value everyone's contributions. Listen with an open mind. Value the learning from other inputs and listen to get smarter. Stay open to new ways of doing things and listen for future ideas to emerge. It's important to respect another person's point of view without agreeing with them. The next point is think before speaking. This is critical. Often people just fill the void with noise. So it's important to seek first to understand and then to be understood. That's a nice saying. Avoid using idioms or 3-letter acronyms and phrases that can be misunderstood. And this is quite common in technical project meetings. It is okay to disagree respectfully and openly and without being disagreeable. Please guys, stay on point and on time. Respect the group's time and keep comments brief and to the point. When a topic has been discussed fully, do not bring it back up again. Do not waste everyone's time by repeating what others have said. Number 8, attack the problem and not the person. Guys, this comes up a lot and often one attends heated meetings. Challenge each other in a respectful way. Blaming someone or judging them will not get you further or in fact closer to a solution. Rather be honest and constructive. And these are the attributes that brings you the best results. And then number 9, close decisions and identify action items. This is very important, and this is where the role of the facilitator is very, very important. And later we will discuss the role of the facilitator. And yes, any issues that cannot be resolved, put them in a parking lot and move on. And make sure that it's a priority in the next meeting. So this is important for you as an attendee as well. And then finally, number 10, always record outcomes and follow up. I'm totally against that taking minutes. It's just too long-winded. It takes too much time. Just write the person's name, what the action is, and then make sure next time when you have a meeting, make that the kind of agenda items or follow-up items that needs to be discussed. Always ensure that you share outcomes with other stakeholders that should be kept in the loop. So if you're going back to your office, and so you don't have to wait on those actions as a participant, you can just give that feedback. Hey guys, earlier on we spoke about having effective meetings. So next we're going to talk through the 5 P's of productive meetings, and this was created I think in 2011 by published on LinkedIn by a gentleman called Stephen Lynch. So let's discuss the 5 P's of productive meetings. Purpose. A productive meeting should have a clear purpose that is worth pulling people away from their productive work. The participants should be aware of what the meeting is for, and for example, a meeting could be held to assess the current status of strategic projects or agree on the next steps and also assign tasks. Next, preparation. Preparation is key to productive meetings. Bring along dashboards, key performance indicators, completed reports, whatever metrics is needed to, as a participant, to give feedback. Project status updates need to be completed. So this is very, very important for every attendee to come prepared and to share perspectives so that the company's goals can be achieved. For instance, if people come prepared, and it will also assist in making better decisions. The next, process. A productive meeting should have a clear process that is defined by an agenda. The agenda should describe specifically what topics will be discussed and in what order, so that participants know what to expect and how to prepare appropriately. Ideally, a standard agenda should be created for every recurring meeting. Number 4, participation. Productive meetings are characterized by participation of everyone who has been invited. People should only be invited if they have something valuable to contribute to a discussion. A meeting facilitator should be appointed in every meeting, and they should ensure that everyone present is given the opportunity to speak and share their opinion, and not just the loudest people or the more extroverted team members or the dominant ones, in most instances the bosses. Finally, progress. In a productive meeting, everyone should make progress. They should leave the meeting better off than when they entered. People should be held accountable for honoring their commitments. Decisions need to be made and documented. And everyone should leave with clarity about what needs to be done next to move the company's goals forward. The primary responsibility of a meeting facilitator is to enhance meeting productivity. If meetings are properly structured and chaired by a competent facilitator, it can help keep the attendees focused, engaged, and accountable for their performance. Furthermore, it can assist in decision making and assigning clear tasks to promote progress. To help meeting facilitators perform better, here are some of our recommendations. First of all, who should be the meeting facilitator? Different schools of thought exist on who should facilitate meetings. Initially, the most suitable person should undertake this role. Sharing duties should only be considered when meeting becomes well structured and disciplined. In small and medium-sized businesses, the CEO or team leader often takes on the role of the meeting facilitator. But we believe the most structured and disciplined person on the team should be selected instead. This person should enforce meeting rules and hold people accountable. One of the key outputs in having productive meetings is having meeting rules. It is important to establish clear rules for each meeting in advance so that all participants are aware of what is expected of them and how they should conduct themselves. An agreed set of rules can help increase the productivity of meetings. The meeting facilitator should be responsible for enforcing these rules. Some areas that are commonly worth creating rules for are as follows. Preparation. Participants need to do pre-work to complete and to bring to the meeting. Next, an agenda. This is what will be discussed, in what order it will be discussed, how long everybody is allowed to discuss them. The process of dealing with topics that's not in the agenda needs to be clarified. Next, timekeeping. What is the start time? Are there scheduled breaks? And also when the meeting will come to an end. Then, consequences for being late. Who's going to keep the time? And then also most important, agree on the time limits for each and every agenda item. And then finally, someone needs to signal that you've come to the end of that agenda item and the time allocated. Note taking is critical, and we suggest that people simplify it by just linking an action to a person's name. Accountability is key, especially when you're talking about performance, projects, or specific tasks. And this is critical with the facilitator after the meeting to follow up with people. The meeting doesn't end when the clock stops. Participation is critical, and your rules need to be clear that technology is not used unless under certain exceptional circumstances. Often staff members will interrupt through phone calls or any other activity, and this needs to be managed as well. Otherwise, the meeting cannot be productive. Also, who gets to speak and in which order you get to speak needs to be managed by the facilitator, and this is critical, as mentioned earlier on. The rules should also govern that it's safe for people to share their ideas, and it often may contradict other people, which has rank, and rules will help in governing that. And then also people that go off topic or ramble or are disruptive. These rules often help that, and I think it's also important if you are debating issues that there's a fair process that exists. Decision making is another one. How decisions will be made and by whom, and what follow-up process will be in place to ensure that there's a high level of accountability. I thought it's a good idea to give you an example of the rules I have in some of my meetings, and I find them quite useful. And also understand people around you need to get used to this. So yes, but it does help, and it makes meetings much more productive. First of all, meetings need to start exactly on time. Even if the CEO is late, create something where they need to donate 10 or 20 Rand to a special social fund. Mobile phones must be turned face down and set to silent. That we do not allow any multitasking. It's important to name the ultimate decision maker in the room. It is important that this is clarified up front, especially when facilitating strategic meetings or planning sessions. Let the participants know that they will all get opportunity to participate in all debates. But I will stop the debate at when it suits me, especially if we're running over the allocated time. Then another important thing, only one person is allowed to speak at any given time. Any off-topic items will be popped, and I'll have a follow-up meeting or task assigned to address that issue in perhaps later meetings. I always encourage passionate debate, but we must do it with respect. Always hear the other person out without interruption, and this is very difficult. It's also okay to disagree, but it's important that we get to a final decision maker, and that's when having that person there that will have to make the call. It is important once our meetings are complete that we have a unified front and sort out all the differences in that meeting. So I would always say, let's align, let's make sure that we're on the same page, and key thing also, it's due dates. People need to commit to that, and I set it out as a rule. If there's a date, please make sure that you, as a facilitator, I will make sure they're accountable. Yes, so those are kind of the examples that I apply in meetings that I facilitate. So feel free, as I mentioned, engage with us via email or other channels so that we can assist you in help you in running productive meetings. These are just some of our rules. Of course, there are many other types of meetings and rules, and they may vary accordingly. So yeah, just take what you believe can help make your meeting more productive. Daily stand-up meetings are very, very effective tools, but they shouldn't be longer than 15 minutes. I would suggest that you schedule them for the same time every day, and make sure you've got the right people in the room. And I think just kind of reviewing what has been done before, what was the to-do list yesterday, and then kind of what is recommended in terms of action for the next day. And that's how short it should be. Or another way is just, what did you accomplish yesterday? What did you learn? yesterday in your in the environment, and kind of what are you going to do. Alternatively, if the meeting is at the end of the day, you can ask, what did you accomplish today? Did you learn anything new? And what task will you complete tomorrow? Are there any obstacles that you need help with? And in so doing, these meetings can be short, sweet, and to the point. There are instances where that's not long enough time, so perhaps cascading the meeting up to a next level, or escalating some of the issues that cannot be resolved in those 15 minutes. And perhaps if you're the facilitator, you should perhaps maybe have the next meeting a bit longer. So for example, you're starting within a call center with your agents first, perhaps 8 o'clock until 8:15, and then perhaps the team leaders, which will probably have a longer meeting, 30 minutes, where some of the issues that was raised from the bottom up can be bubbled up or cascaded upwards. And if need be, that can always be escalated to perhaps a weekly meeting. So yes, we believe that the daily stand-up meetings can be very effective, can be very productive. It's often the quickest way to understand what's happening on a floor, whether it's a factory or a call center or just a normal office, of knowledge workers or people that work in the field. And then just ensure that if you learn that things cannot be resolved in those short meetings, and try to keep within those 15 minutes, then cascade it up to the next level of leadership or management in your organization. Virtual meetings became prominent since 2020, and we're going to discuss how this can, you can improve in this. Sometimes you're confronted with different time zones or people across the country or a region, so these need to be organized in a way that makes sense, and you can get the team very well coordinated. The nice thing about virtual meetings that people on some of the software that use can add comments, so they can give the input via comments. There's normally an automated attendance register on these meetings. So similarly with your stand-up meetings or your other meetings, all the principles apply. And I think the other benefit of these virtual meetings is that some of the technology allows the meetings to be recorded via video format or just voice, and that enables and helps a lot kind of with the actions and minute taking, so the facilitator or the note taker can then refer to this afterwards. It is also kind of very important for the facilitator in some instances where people don't have video capability, and to ensure that they engage, get people's input in those meetings, because it's a very, very high risk of you losing connection with staff. And I think one of the key things about meeting with people is getting a sense of alignment and getting the team to work along, even though they may be working remotely. So this probably in the current day and age will be one of the more important types of meetings and more frequently held. And you need to boost your skills on just facilitating these. The same level of preparation would be required, but it also needs a lot more coordination. So yes, I mean the only difference is that you don't get the eye contact, especially if there's no video capability. So facilitators, please kind of prepare for these, I would say, more intensely than you would for daily meetings. And also with these, because of the frequency, try to keep them under 30 minutes as far as possible. We thought we'd add weekly execution meetings to the module, and when Alan Mullally took over as CEO of Ford in 2006, he found that the senior executives were spending too much time in meetings. To address this, he decided to do away with all unnecessary meetings. However, he established one comprehensive weekly meeting to review strategic progress and discuss performance. This meeting, though taking half a day, follows a standardized agenda where the status of projects and metrics are color-coded. Every attendee is required to come prepared to speak to the results. At Ford, every manager is held firmly accountable for their performance in front of their peers, and leaves the meeting with a clear understanding of what actions they need to take before the next meeting. Muller's leadership at Ford from 2006 till 2014 brought the company back to profitability, and it was one of the only American major car manufacturers to avoid bailout by the US government in the 2008 recession. Though a half-day meeting may seem lengthy, Mullally knew what all successful managers know. It is critical to meet regularly and to hold people accountable for their performance on a weekly basis. As the speaker says, successful business execution is 20% giving people clarity about what needs to be done and 80% following up on to make sure that it actually gets done. While transparency and making performance visible are important, assigning goals and tasks to people on a dashboard is not enough to make things happen. After just observing the experience of what happened at Ford, we believe and we recommend that having these weekly meetings are essential for businesses, especially with helping with their productivity. It's an opportunity to evaluate performance of individuals and departments, to confirm the one focus area that will be followed up in the next week. It increases the accountability by managers, and I think when everybody comes with standard metrics and projects and tasks, it's an effective way to get all key people aligned in an organization, especially the bigger organizations or even small companies. And then another important thing is to then reduce or cut out all the other unnecessary meetings. So we suggest take about 1 or 2 hours a week on a day that works for everyone. And always we will suggest that you start always with a positive message or note. Review the metrics, review projects, have a parking lot, and try your best as a facilitator to ensure that everyone attends. Again, as we said, this module is also about productivity and having effective meetings. So we're suggesting to consolidate all your meetings into one. Yes, it may be a bit longer, but if it is structured and you follow our guidelines, we believe that you as an individual and a team and a company will be more productive. My name is CraigANel, and this is ICAN.